Happening now, tonight, Sergio Perez is expected to stay with Red Bull for the remainder of the 2024 season. Can Checo turn his poor form around after a much-needed summer break? Carlos Sainz chose Williams over Alpine and Sauber for the 2025 season. Is Sainz making a good decision, or should he have considered taking a sabbatical? Spire Motorsports and LaJoie are parting ways at the end of the 2024 season. Where will LaJoie land next, and who will replace him at Spire? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert, and with me are Joshua Burt and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance. In this, we definitely encourage you all to comment in the chat, ask questions, and support us through Super Chat. Now, Josh, take it away with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Good evening to you both as well. So, The Athletic and other credible media outlets have been reporting that Sergio Perez is staying with Red Bull Racing after the Formula One summer break. Now, despite increasing pressure to perform and many expecting him to get replaced after the Belgian Grand Prix, Red Bull surprised us all by the decision to stick with him. Now, this comes after they've signed Perez to a 2-year contract extension, and some wonders if they had regretted the new deal, as Checo has gone through a downward spiral. Now, since the Miami Grand Prix in early May, Perez hasn't finished higher than 7th, only scoring 28 points in the 7 race weekends. Now, when you compare that to his teammate Max Verstappen, he has scored 141 points in that time span. The link to the Athletic article is in the video description below, and the photo taken by Brian Lennon as well from Getty Images. Now, how stunned are you by Red Bull's decision to keep Sergio Perez? And can he do a good enough job after the summer break to convince Red Bull to keep him in 2025?
141 to 28. All I'm going to say is, wow. That is just truly unbelievable how Max Verstappen has absolutely stomped Sergio Perez straight into the ground, outperforming him significantly. And to answer your question, Josh, I was actually very surprised that they decided to keep Perez, especially after the comment of Dr. Helmut Marko. I know we'll talk a little bit about his comments in the next question, but it really seemed like, that they were just done with him. All the rumors swirling around the paddock and in the media, they were saying that, Checo is basically on life support with his Formula One career at Red Bull, and he was more than likely not going to return. I think a lot of us expected by tonight's show that he would have gotten his pink slip by Red Bull, and we would have seen Daniel Ricciardo promoted to that seat, or even a Liam Lawson just waiting in the wings for an opportunity. But we're sitting here Wednesday evening, and Sergio Perez, it seems like he's going to be a Red Bull driver for the remainder of the season. But honestly, who knows? Things can obviously change in the blink of an eye in the motorsports world, but I honestly have no idea why they decided to keep him, but at least Checo can go into the summer break now, feeling at ease, because he'll get an opportunity to reset. And in order to keep his job in 2025, I really believe that he needs to go out there and set the world on fire. He needs to do exactly what Red Bull needs him to do, which is to be extremely consistent, collect those points towards the Constructors Championship. Obviously, the winning the Drivers' Championship for Perez is a fever dream, not going to happen. But he certainly needs to pull his weight in the constructors and make sure that Max is not going to be really the only one who's doing the heavy lifting there, gaining most of the points, while Perez is really letting the whole team down. So I think Perez is really going to have to set the world on fire. And when we come back from the summer break, if he wants to keep his job in 2025, I know he signed a 2-year contract extension, but honestly, if it doesn't get much better from here, I don't see him being a Red Bull driver next year. Contract extension. But
evening, guys. This was a shock to me as well. You just look at the weekend at Spa. Obviously, Max took his engine penalty. He was fastest in qualifying, didn't get the pole position because he had the penalty hanging over his head. Goes back to 11th, which gives the front row slot to Sergio Perez, he just managed to squeak through. I think it was through Q2, wasn't it, by the skin of his teeth. Pulls out a lap in Q3, gets on the front row. And you think, here we go. He's got a chance now to stamp away all of the things that have gone on since Monaco, but really since before that, wasn't it? Obviously, he had that shunt on the first lap at Monaco, which was pretty embarrassing, and other things since. and just in the race, he just faded. And if the last car of the big, I guess we're going to call them the big four now, aren't we? Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari. If the last car of those four teams is pitting at the end of the race to get a new set of tyres to get the fastest that bonus point, you know that he's not a good afternoon, and that's what ended up happening to Perez. We're going to get to Marco's comments in a minute, but after what Helmut had said, and I think Christian made a sort of pointed comment after the race as well, you thought surely his time is running out. But the decision came Monday afternoon that he's going to stay. So interesting. We'll cover off the options and what Marco said in a bit, but I really didn't see this happening. But as someone on the former Bird app said in the week, or since Monday's announcement, don't forget that Pierre Gasly was confirmed to be staying in whatever year that was, that he wasn't going to be dropped in the summer break, and 3 weeks later he was replaced by Alex Albon. So we've still got time before we get to Zandvoort, isn't it, the next Grand Prix at the end of August, for something else to change. But I do think in this instance, and don't forget he's not long signed a 2-year contract extension only a month or 6 weeks ago. I do think in this exchange that Perez will see out his time. No, let me rephrase that. He'll see out the season at Red Bull. Whether we see him in an RB next year obviously remains to be seen.
And whatever that team gets renamed to ahead of the 2025 season as well, because they are apparently renaming RB once again after confusions when they announced Yuki Tsunoda would be driving an RB in 2025. He thought he would be up in the main team. Now, while Verstappen holds a comfortable 78-point lead in the Drivers' Championship, the situation in the Constructors' Championship seems more concerning. That's mainly due to Perez's poor performances. McLaren has closed the gap to Red Bull. They're only 42 points away from being at the top of the Constructors. Now, although there are concerns that Red Bull could give away the Constructors' title with a struggling Perez, The Athletic said the team informed the factory on Monday about their decision to keep Checo in the car throughout the end of the 2024 season. Now, team principal Christian Horner said the priority is to support his struggling driver and try to understand why he's not delivering good results. Red Bull boss Helmut Marko expressed his frustration with Perez after his 7th place finish at Spa. In an interview with Sky Germany as well, Marko said Checo had the opportunity to take home a good result from 2nd place, but completely collapsed as he dropped down the running order. Marko wasn't happy at all, which led to many to believe he had enough of Perez's struggles and would decide to replace him with Liam Lawson or Daniel Ricciardo. However, it seems like he's giving Perez one last chance to prove himself to the team. Now, is Red Bull going to give the Constructors' title away to McLaren by keeping Perez, or do you think replacing him with Lawson or Ricciardo would make any difference at all?
Well, I think the happiest person, apart from Sergio Perez and his huddle, the happiest person with this news on Monday afternoon was Zach Brown, or maybe Andrea Stella, because their McLaren are now going, if he carries on at this pace, we've got a chance here. The way that McLaren have been going over the last month or two, so that is up in the air. Perez needs to help, just be there, get on the podium at least, somewhere. If Max has a bad day, falls out, has a retirement for a mechanical or something, then Perez needs to be up there fighting with the two M teams, McLaren and Mercedes now, who seem to have both pole vaulted in front of Ferrari in the pecking order, and get some points on the board. Another thing that springs to mind in all of this Perez saga, Daniel Ricciardo has not been he hasn't been since he left Red Bull the first time, the old Daniel Ricciardo. They've got Liam Lawson, as you mentioned, Josh, and he did a terrific job in his stand-in races last year for Danny Rick. There's a bigger French-shaped problem, I feel like, coming up on the reins, if you're going with a horse racing term, in Formula 2. And that's Isaac Hadjar, who got another win at the weekend at Spa. and he's leading the championship by some distance. Red Bull supported driver. There's again we haven't had this Red Bull situation for a little while, but we're going to end up with what's that? 5-6 drivers going for 4 spots again. What does Yuki do here? He's been overlooked again, potentially for a promotion. Why is he? They were going with Daniel rather than with Yuki, which I guess in some quarters you would say he's the senior driver, just through experience and race wins and all that kind of thing. Yes, you would put the more senior driver into the Red Bull main team if they were going to drop Perez. But Yuki's had I think he's had a tremendous season. He's had a couple of blips, but he's had a really, really good season this year. And apart from a few comments he's made on the radio and in the paddock and things, he's had a really good year. What are they not seeing in the little Japanese driver to not put him in the frame for a promotion? But I feel like we're going to come back to this conversation again in December or February before the start of next season. But all of the Red Bulls are up in the air in the driver market at the moment for what happens next year. Because if Perez continues to struggle through the second half of the season, or just under the second half, I guess we are in now, when we get back after the summer break, the questions will be asked again. And if McLaren do continue their strong form and sweep the Constructors' Championship away from them, then fingers will surely need to be pointed at the keepers of Perez and Perez himself.
Yeah, for sure. And on the point about Yuki Tsunoda, Matt, honestly, I don't really know what Yuki has to do to prove himself any further to Red Bull. And I'll tell you this in our private grid chat, that every time I read something about Yuki Tsunoda from the media on why he's not getting this opportunity to get a promotion to the Red Bull senior team, I always see 2 words: bad attitude. We all know Yuki is a very emotional, passionate driver on the radio. He says some things that he probably should not say in that instance, but like you said, he's having a really great season. He's definitely grown from the time he started in Formula One to now. I think Yuki definitely deserves to be on this Formula One grid. I think Red Bull is making a mistake by not giving him an honest look to see if they can promote him to be Max Verstappen's teammate. If I'm Yuki and if I'm seeing all the conversations about who would go before me, it would be a Liam Lawson or a Daniel Ricciardo. I'm wondering, like, why am I continuing to be a part of this Red Bull program? Being a Visa Cash App RB, and it's like, if I don't have any opportunity to move up, like, what am I doing here? So I think, maybe within the next year or so, I know they signed Yuki to a contract extension. Maybe he'll start to think about his future and maybe say, I should probably start looking elsewhere outside of the Red Bull family and try to find a home with a better car, maybe in the midfield, closer to the front of the grid, and maybe he can finally start to get the respect that he deserves. I feel like Yuki Tsunoda has been disrespected tremendously by Red Bull management right now, and not taking away from Daniel Ricciardo from what he's been able to do in his F1 career, or the very high upside of Liam Lawson, who I argue his upside is way higher than Yuki Tsunoda. And getting back to the question you asked at the top, Josh, about the Constructors Championship, and Matt, you said we may be revisiting this conversation, the end of the year, early next year. I think if Sergio Perez comes out, the summer break and performs very poorly, not like nothing's changed, we may be having this conversation again, in just a month or 2 from now. It'll be even sooner, especially if the Constructors Championship starts to go the way of McLaren. I know they're planning to keep him through the end of the 2024 season right now, but if these struggles continue and it looks like McLaren's going to overtake them, Red Bull may decide to make a decision again and decide to replace Perez to try to do whatever they can to salvage the Constructors Championship. But like I said, Perez needs to light the world on fire. He needs to come back a completely, relaxed and different driver if he wants to keep this seat, because there's a few drivers who are going to be breathing down his neck if he doesn't perform.
I'll add to this as well about Sergio Perez, because there was a comment made this morning by Motorsport Italy, who came in, and it was said that it was actually the Mexican Formula One ambassador, so the guy who runs all the events for the Mexico City Grand Prix, who intervened in Red Bull's decision not to drop in. Asked, look, you're going to drop all our sales. 80% of our ticket sales are still yet to be done. Don't drop him. Otherwise, our ticket sales for Mexico City Grand Prix is going to be none. So you've got that coming in from Motorsport Italy. And then all these rumors now have sort of died away that there's going to be this shootout between Ricciardo and Lawson over the summer break as well. We haven't heard much of that. We know Alpine have done their testing at Spa, which got curtailed by whether to see if Jack Doohan will go in. And we now understand that Jack Doohan's got a shot to go in that car for 2025. But I've just got this overriding arc that Tsunoda should be replacing Perez after the summer break in that main Red Bull team. I think we've seen a lot this year that Perez is definitely the better of the three, of adding in, throwing in with himself, Ricciardo, Lawson, Hadjar, and even Perez. He's the best at the moment. He's been constantly scoring points. I think it'd be a good match for Max in order to help them both secure the constructors. And then in 25, he'll be an interesting pawn in the game to see how that's going to play out when they all close up. I don't see Checo as that pawn at the moment. And I also think that we should get rid of Perez and Ricciardo. Controversial, but that RB team should be Liam Lawson and Isaac Hadjar. That's the two I would put in at the moment, especially after, as you say, Hadjar's win.
Are Perez, I know they're not in the same team at this moment in time, of course, and I'll caveat that. They're not in the same team at this moment in time. Are Perez and Ricciardo the Jarno Trulli and Giancarlo Fisichella of this era of Formula One?
Oh, yes.
Both race winners, but they just hung around just a touch too long.
Bit much.
As much as I was a Fizzy fan when he first came in Jordan in the 90s, he did just then hang on a little bit too long. You mentioned the Motorsport Italia thing. I saw that this morning. I've also seen various messages from people that Liberty got involved to keep Perez in the top team because of the Mexican Grand Prix and the South American TV deal. That's been touted. Money, obviously, but Red Bull don't need any money. Unless they're topping up their catering budget. Unless they're topping up their catering budget. Zing. They don't need any money, do they, from Perez or for Perez? So that I don't see holds any water. But I do agree with you, Josh, that it should be Tsunoda up, Perez and Daniel. Sorry, thank you guys. It's been tremendous. Off to the World Endurance Championship or IndyCar you go, and Lawson, and then Hadjar. That would be what, if he doesn't get a seat, what's that, 4 F2 champions in a row that don't? And
Djokovic doesn't even have one yet.
Djokovic
or Porsche.
Porsche didn't get one, but he didn't win the championship. De Vries didn't win F2, did he? Obviously gone out of that system.
De Vries did win F2, yeah. De Vries won F2. Sorry, he chose Formula E, yeah.
Wise decision. Again, questions have been asked again of Formula 2 recently. I know we're going slightly off topic here. What is the point of Formula 2 when Antonelli and Behrman, who haven't had great years, but they're coming on a little bit, and I know Ollie had a run in at the weekend and didn't finish, and Antonelli's pass at Eau Rouge, oh my goodness, preempting a hop that for later on. But the guys that aren't showing in the championship are getting the seats, and the guys that are showing in the championship and have been winning the championship are then being sat on the fence. Ben says last F2 champion to get an F1 ride immediately was Mick Schumacher in 2020. Thank you, Ben. So it's going to be, if Hadjar doesn't get up, then it's going to be 4 years.
And here's another thing as well. The last when they put Schumacher in that Haas, everybody said, oh, the reason he was so bad is because Haas put him in the last year of a regulation, so he had to get used to a new car, and then another new car. They've done it again. They've put Behrman in for 25 when a whole new regulation is coming in 26. It doesn't seem fair almost as what they're up to, and that's a question of why I think Antonelli's going to struggle just a little bit, because they're going to throw him in a race-winning Mercedes now, and then expect him suddenly to get used to that and 2026. It doesn't seem fair, and this perfectly links into our next story, because a driver who would have been suited to go to Mercedes has gone to where you would have put Antonelli, because Williams Racing have signed Carlos Sainz to a 2-year contract with options to extend beyond 2025. Now, Sainz replaces Logan Sargent in the driver lineup next season as Alex Albon's new teammate. Now, he admitted the driver market has been very complex this year for various reasons, and that's why it took him so long to decide his future. However, he added that Williams is the right place for him to continue his F1 journey, acknowledging the ultimate goal of bringing Williams back to the front of the grid. Now, team principal James Vowles said signing Sainz is a strong statement of intent, adding this shows the belief many have in the organization's ambitious desires to field a competitive team once again. A graphic courtesy there of Williams Racing. Now, I saw a TikTok earlier on of a Peter Kay concert. He was saying that, when you were out for a dinner at a restaurant and the waiter's come saying, "Are you having a nice time?" And you go, "Yes, it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic." And they put it as Sainz being shown around the Williams. And he goes, "Yes, absolutely fantastic. Best ever. Absolute bleep hole." Is when he walks away. And I think that's honestly what I would be thinking. He had the pick of the litter and he's gone to Williams. So do you agree with Vowles that landing a talent like Sainz is a good sign that Williams may be on the rise up in the next few seasons?
Yeah, Josh. This is a very interesting move by Carlos Sainz. I know we'll get a little bit more into that in a moment, but if you're team principal James Vowles, you have to be extremely excited about your driver lineup the next couple of years, locking down both Alex Albon, who's going to be returning to the team, and adding a driver of Carlos Sainz's pedigree as well. I think that definitely is a huge confidence booster for the entire Williams Racing organization. And for the last year or so, we've been hearing the team principal making these comments, about how the ultimate goal is to bring Williams back to where they used to be, back towards the front of the grid, being competitive instead of, being at the back of the F1 grid. I know Williams has been working really hard, last couple of years trying to get back towards the front, but it's really been an uphill battle. But they have a lot of investors who are spending chunks and chunks of money for the future, mostly around this new rules regulation package coming in 2026 and seeing where they can go. I know Alex Albon's already talked about how Williams may sacrifice 2025, so next season may not be that great for Williams. It'll be really hard for Carlos Sainz, where you're up there battling in the points and getting decent results with Ferrari right now. And next year, Carlos Sainz may be at the very back of the grid. He may be pushing as hard as he can, but the car just won't have it, which is obviously be very frustrating for him. So it seems like this is a move that Carlos Sainz has made, more about the future. And for the sake of Williams, considering all the people they brought on board, the amount that they're investing in this 2026 car, for their sake, I really hope they come out swinging in 2026 to at least be in the midfield to make a huge jump in performance. Because if we get to 2026 and Williams is still, towards the back of the grid, it's going to be extremely disappointing, because there seemed to be a lot of morale surrounding this team, although, not really having the best season here in 2024. I think the Williams future could be extremely bright, and they have all the tools in place to be on the rise in the next couple of seasons. We just have to wait to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget he won in Australia in March. Wasn't that long ago, Carlos Sainz. Interesting move, I feel like. I wasn't sure he'd go back to Alpine, because of course he was there when it was a Renault. But there wasn't really, apart from Mercedes, and obviously the more this has rumbled on, the less likely that is of it happening, and doing a straight swap with Lewis, that was going to happen. So in an election year, or in both Kobe's side of the Atlantic and ours, Josh, what was in the Williams manifesto that they passed to Carlos Sainz and went, here you go, sign this? Because it seems like a bit of an odd decision for a race winner from this year to jump to the second to third worst team on the grid, depending on where you put them, in front of or behind Haas. So yeah, real strange one. And let's hope for Carlos's sake that what they are promising for 26, trying to get my years right there, is going to be a huge step forward for Williams. And it would be great to see them back fighting, where they, as a team that has won championships, it's been a very long time, and races back towards the front of the grid. Sainz and Albon is a very good team combo. I feel like that's going to work really quite well. Shame for Logan Sargent, obviously, to end up losing his seat, which we've kind of, perhaps when we talked about it a lot at the end of last year, thought may happen at the end of last year. It'd be a one and done for him, but he managed to cling on for one more season. But against Albon, it was always going to be tricky. And now Alex will have Carlos coming in to muscle his way into that team and try and shape it around him, especially as you mentioned, Josh and Kobe, heading towards the regulation change in 26.
The one thing I would say about all of this is Williams currently have the best lineup to offer something different and a challenge to the one and only Adrian Newey.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he does go there, that could be quite a little nugget of information, couldn't it? I think he would, you know.
It crossed my mind. Not his first team, obviously, but the first team where he really found success in the early 90s with the Mansell era, Prost, Hill, Villeneuve, before he jumped to McLaren. So it would be almost a complete full circle for him, because we still don't know what he's going to do, unless he is going to just go on the boat and spend a year cruising around the Med. But I can't see the competitive Adrian Newey deciding to hang up his pencil completely. And maybe with the regulation changing, a new team, a new atmosphere, that two drivers, really good drivers, that may sway him to go there. And maybe that's what that's maybe how they pulled Carlos in with the hook of working with Adrian in the near future.
It makes sense. It really does, because otherwise I can't see why Carlos, who had a pick throughout, would have gone there. Because did he though? That's the question. Alpine looks set. Alpine would have been a shot, because then you've got a chance that Alpine don't get a Mercedes. Well, they get a Mercedes engine, and that would have helped them a lot. Williams has that Mercedes engine, but they haven't got the design on it. And then you've got McLaren as they're locked in with Piastri and Norris. Ferrari are locked in. If anything, I think Lewis is slightly regretting his choice to sign for Ferrari. Cool. Yeah. 2 wins in the last 3 races, podiums since Spain, non-stop, and you're closing in. I think I read somewhere that Max, if Max finished 5th in the remaining races and Lewis won 6 races of the remaining 10, Lewis would be world champion, which is scary to think that it's that close. And Max may be looking slightly ahead, but he hasn't won since June. I know it was a month ago. Yeah. No, was it? No, Canada. Spain. He won in Spain. Was it Canada? I thought he won Spain. Which one came before or after? It was around then anyway, he won. Yeah. Whichever one came afterwards. But yeah, he hasn't won since then. And when we go back to Zandvoort, it'll be 2 months. So it's scary. The last 4 races have also all been won by Mercedes power engines, which is really scary. Hasn't happened since 2020. Not even 21. Lewis never got 4 in a row like that.
It was Spain.
It was Spain. Excellent. Thank you.
I couldn't remember which way around they were.
They've muddled it up again with that calendar. But yeah, so that's going to be fun. I mean, do we think that Max is going to win the Drivers' Championship? 90% yes.
Yeah.
Do we think they're going to win the Constructors? No. Have everybody made a mistake with the driver lineup that they're going forward? Yes, that's my take. Now, you might remember on last weekend's episode of Grid Tonight, we talked about the internal issues with the Audi F1 project and how frustrated they were to miss out on signing Carlos Sainz. Now, as we've been talking about, with Ferrari choosing to move on from Sainz in favour of Lewis Hamilton, Sainz was dealt a difficult situation in the 2025 driver market. There was a slim chance that he could land at Mercedes or Red Bull on a short-term deal, but Alpine, Sauber, Audi, / Williams as well, they all were the most realistic options going forward. 2025 may not be a good year for Williams, but they're optimistic about building more competitive cars in 2026, as we've discussed. The possibility of Adrian Newey joining the team as well going forward, the possibility as well of some stronger aerodynamic changes going their way for 2025. But with the new regulations beginning, Sainz is coming on board also means that Logan Sargent's F1 career comes to a likely end. I don't think anybody on the grid is going to take him. So did Sainz make the best possible decision? This is the ultimate question I'm coming to you after given those facts. Or do you think he should have considered taking a sabbatical from F1 in 2025? And also, for Logan Sargent, is it IndyCar or bust?
I think for Sargent, that looks the most likely option for Logan to go back to the States and take up an IndyCar. Although he did have a little dabble in some prototype racing before going back to F2. So he has some prior experience of that. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. The other F2 driver I was thinking of that didn't make it to F1 and probably should have was Frederick Vesti from our conversation. It was just come back into my brain, who's now in LMP2. On Sainz, he wasn't left much on the table, as we've just been talking about. It was either Alpine, Haas, or Williams, or take a break. And not many people have taken a break and come back and done well. Hulkenberg, you could say, probably is the last person to have a bit of time out and come back, and that was during the old C19 days when he was rushed back in. Do you remember at the Nürburgring late at Force India and did really well, and suddenly everyone went, "Oh yeah, remember Nico Hulkenberg? He used to be quite good," and now he's off towards Audi, former Le Mans winner, of course. So he did that. Mika Hakkinen is still on a sabbatical, don't forget, former world champion. He's never retired. He's still on a sabbatical, so that Mika Hakkinen may be still coming back. No, I joke, obviously.
It's Hakkinen.
It is Hakkinen. Thanks, Murray. A sabbatical for Sainz? I don't think so. He would if he was going to do that, I'd step away from Formula One. He would go WEC, I feel like, and tie up with a manufacturer there. And we talked about the potential of another one perhaps coming in on the show last week with the old Multimatic news of Seb Priaulx. So there's still things rumbling away in the background for people, but he's chosen Williams. He wants to stay. And as I said previously, I think that's a really, really solid lineup with Carlos and Alex there at Williams for next year going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at the options that were on the table for Carlos Sainz, I think he chose the option, that provided the most hope out of all the three of those. Like you said, just the prospects of potentially landing Adrian Newey. I'm sure Adrian has a lot of suitors right now all throughout the grid, and even a suitor currently not on the grid, which, Ben Andretti Global Cadillac project. We've already talked about how, those comments Mario Andretti made a few months ago about potentially working with Adrian Newey. So I'm sure Adrian's going to have a lot of choices. But if he were able to land at Williams, that would obviously be an exciting prospect for the future, because we know Adrian Newey is one of the best car designers in the history of motorsports. And if anybody can design a car to make Williams more competitive, Adrian Newey is that one person. So I feel like Williams was probably the best option. And like you said, Josh, we talked about all the internal issues with Audi, dropping two of the leaders on that project, replacing them with Mattia Binotto. And Audi right now, and Sauber in his current form, things are not going well right now, internally, externally. And that's probably not a project that's going to attract a lot of people at the moment. In Alpine, it seemed like, in the short term, they're having so many internal issues as well, especially at the very top. Their current team principal is going to be leaving. And I believe they hired a new team principal that was announced earlier this morning, if I believe. I think I saw that scrolling on Instagram. Yeah, so Alpine has a lot of issues they need to figure out. It's just been complete chaos with that organization. A lot of people really expected more from their driver duo Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon this year, but Alpine just hasn't been able to get it right. So it'll be interesting to see what that group could do. But overall, I think Carlos Sainz made the best possible choice he could have made given the options out there. But like you say, Matt, take a sabbatical from F1. Sometimes you think you're leaving for a while and you don't know if you'll ever make it back, or you try to come back and it may not go as well. And you mentioned Nico Hulkenberg taking a sabbatical from F1 and coming back. I also remember Fernando Alonso took a sabbatical as well, and then he came back, and Fernando ran, I believe, 2 seasons in the World Endurance Championship with Toyota Gazoo Racing, end up winning Le Mans, had a lot of fun during his downtime and returned to Formula One. And we've seen Alonso had quite a bit of success. So taking a sabbatical is not totally the end of the world, but if Carlos Sainz wanted a better seat, maybe he could have considered that option. But he's already made a bet now. He's going to be a Williams driver, so we'll have to just see it out how it does. And in regards to Logan Sargent, it really does seem like that he's going to be an IndyCar next year. It's just a matter of which team he's going to drive for. I know a lot of people have linked him to potentially joining the new startup Prima Racing or operation in IndyCar next year. But who knows? Maybe Logan could have some more suitors out there for his services in IndyCar. And after, spending his racing career in Europe, I'm sure he'll definitely welcome to move back home full time to race in the NTT IndyCar Series and to show people why he was able to make it to Formula One in the first place, to showcase his talent on a more even playing field. And got some comments here in the chat too from Adam Limmery. First, Adam says that with this move, you say you think with this move, Logan Sargent goes to IndyCar in 2025. We're in agreement there. And Adam right here with a very bold take saying that you think Carlos Sainz can win at Williams in 2025. And respectfully, Adam, I'm going to have to disagree with that. I do not see Carlos Sainz
in Spa.
Get a wet race, somewhere.
Get a ring, maybe, yeah. But or maybe Baku, because we like to call Baku the Talladega of Formula One. So who knows? Maybe Carlos Sainz and Williams can shock the world in 2025. But if you're betting right now in Vegas, I don't think many people are going to be betting on Carlos Sainz to win on Williams in 2025.
Can I bet past Maldonado?
Well, indeed, that's true. Wouldn't have been on pole if Lewis Hamilton hadn't run out of fuel in qualifying. Just want to roll that one back in again. Two other quick F1 stories that have come out today that I've seen. I know Kobe's going to cover off the rest of the silly season news later in the news segment. You mentioned Ollie Oakes is going to be the new Alpine team principal once Bruno Fairman leaves at the end of August. I don't know if he leaves before Zandvoort or after. There he is. So Channel 4, I hope you're watching, because you're going to have plenty of fun with Holly Oakes, the theme tune, and Ollie Oakes, the team principal. That's a Channel 4 soap for those outside the UK, and Channel 4 of the F1.
Ollie Oakes.
Ollie Oakes, or Ollie Gark, if some people may remember him as, because he was involved with the high-tech Nikita Mazepin, all of that going on at Haas a few years ago. So Ollie Gark is the nickname that some people have called him. And also, you mentioned Andretti, Kobe, and I'd completely forgotten about this until you mentioned Andretti. A story on autosport.com this morning about former Alpine team principal, I know there's many, Otmar Safnauer, potentially getting involved with an American team to come into Formula One. And it wasn't mentioned that it was Andretti. So, hello, Ben. Yeah. You're going to have two Formula One teams not being allowed into the grid that are coming from the United States, potentially. Hello, Ben.
Yeah. I actually saw that story as well this morning, Matt, and from what I gather from it, it seems to potentially be a possible rebirth of that US F1 project, that they had quite a handful of years ago, but never came into fruition. But yeah, it would be interesting to, if we see more leading this new US backed project to try to get into Formula One. It makes me wonder if this project gains some steam, get some more key people involved in this, who'd be more likely to get on the grid. This U.S. team that we really don't know much about, or Andretti. It really seems like it's going to be difficult for Andretti to get in at this point. I don't know. It's going to be really crazy to see what happens there. And here's Ben right here saying, "You better be glad I'm on vacation, Stefano."
Dead man's shoes. The only way into Formula One at the moment is dead man's shoes, and it looks to be like the French are going to be the next ones shot out of the sport as well at this rate. So watch out for the Alpines. I don't think they're making the end of the season. I really don't, and really? I must say as well, I really don't. If think about it. I said this in commentary over because fair credit to Omi here as well, who actually told us in practice 3, I think it was, that it was going to be Ollie Oakes who was taking over as team principal after Bruno Famin, the yearly sacking of a team principal at Spa for Alpine. Bruno Famin came in, went within, I think, 11 months, which I think is hilarious. But he mentions about the fact is that how is it going to be for Renault, who Alpine, of course, is their sports division. How are you going to sell Renault-powered cars and Alpines when your main, selling point is the fact that you're in Formula One? You can't. And yeah, by the way, what engine's got? Oh, it's got a Mercedes. It's got a Mercedes engine. Why does it have a Mercedes? I know. Well, I won't buy a Renault then. I won't buy this Renault, whatever they've got. I want the Renault Clio. I'll go buy a Mercedes, whatever it's
A-Class.
A-Class. That's it. I won't buy a Renault. I'll go buy a Mercedes, and that's like the same price bracket. It just doesn't work, and I can't see Renault surviving, especially with Briatore. I cannot see that. It's like they have brought in the detonators and now they are crumbling floor by floor. It's not going to work.
They're just rolling the wire around the building, ready for the plunger to go down, perhaps. And
Andretti are standing by, ready to steal the copper. It's perfect. And then they can build up their own F1 team from the ashes.
Just outside Silverstone, next to the other F1 team, Aston Martin. So yeah,
who are lucky to be there.
There's lots to play out. We've talked driver silly season. There's going to be team silly season coming over the next 6 months. I'm going to go with between now and February. It might look quite different in the old, but when we get to Barcelona for the pre-season test next year, or wherever it's going to be held, I'm guessing it's Barcelona or Bahrain.
Don't know actually.
It's going to look. It might look quite different.
I don't think it is Bahrain next year because we're starting the season in Australia. It very well could be Barcelona.
Oh,
but what I do know is, for 2026, you're going to have 9 days of testing across 3 different tests. And one of them will be at Barcelona. So that's my plan for 2026 is to get out there for testing. So that should be quite fun. I loved it when I went there in 2019. Absolutely would go again. In fact, I wore this shirt. Just thinking about it. And these shorts, actually. If I can get my leg up, I'm recreating that photo. I'll have to show you it all later. But yeah, speaking of hot weathers, over in the United States at the moment as well, because after showing significant improvement in her second full season of Indy NXT competition, it's Jamie Chadwick who has earned the opportunity to test an IndyCar with Andretti Global. Now, Chadwick will make her IndyCar test debut on September 30th at Barber Motorsports Park. She'll become the first female Indy NXT race winner to receive an IndyCar test since Pippa Mann back in 2011. I want to specify that because many people have been getting that wrong over the past 24 hours. It's the first female Indy NXT race winner to receive an IndyCar test since Pippa Mann in 2011. Repeating that because Sky got in trouble earlier. Now, in her rookie season, Chadwick picked up 5 top 10 finishes and really stepped up her game this year. With 4 races to go in the 2024 season, she currently sits 5th in the points in what has been a huge year that saw her win from pole at Road America. The build-up to the Canadian Grand Prix, all of us on the commentary team and here at Good Network as well were cheering like crazy as she was able to do that. Chadwick made history on that special day in Elkhart Late as well by becoming the first woman to win an Indy NXT race on a road or street course and only the 3rd woman to win a race in the series history. She said she's excited to test an IndyCar for the first time as making it to the NTT IndyCar series remains her goal and she'll try to learn as much as possible on the test day. Michael Andretti praised Chadwick for growing as a driver in the last year, saying the work she put in over the off-season has been obvious and he's pleased with the progress she's made, the graphic courtesy there of Andretti Global. Congrats to Jamie Chadwick on the IndyCar test. Can't wait to see how she does. I agree with Adam there as well. I think we all do, because how massive an opportunity for Jamie Chadwick is this, Kobe?
This is an enormous opportunity for Jamie Chadwick. I have to say, well done. She totally earned it. I echo everything that Michael and Andretti has said. I know usually in a driver's first season of any next competition is usually a struggle. You know, this Indy Next car is way different compared to any open wheel car Jamie Chadwick has driven, way different compared to the W Series car that she was in. And I think one of the biggest differences is, is the physicality of this Indy Next car. When a lot of drivers first come into the series, their rookie year, their arms, their neck, they complain about pain in that because you really have to work on your upper body strength and make sure you're ready to muscle around this race car because you really have to get up on the wheel and sling this thing, around in the corners. And Jamie Chadwick, I think she struggled a little bit with the physicality of this car last year, but like Michael Andretti said, she went to work over the off season. She worked on her condition. She worked on gaining a lot more upper body strength, and she learned a lot from the racing last season, and the proof is in the pudding. That was a spectacular run at Road America. A great victory there. And in the oval race we saw at Iowa, saw a lot of improvement from her as well. Looking forward to seeing what she's going to do at the remaining oval races in the 2024 Indy next season. And if continue to improve on those, I think she'll be good to go for the future. But in regards to Jamie Chadwick's future in general, I think she would be better off doing one more season of Indy next. Yeah. First year, basically learn the series, learn the car, the style of racing, how it goes. Second year, big jump. Got the pole, got the race win. Sitting in the top 5 in points, and there's a possibility, she could hold it down in the year. Top 5 in points would be here for her, and year 3 potentially be a championship contender. Try to get the scholarship money and graduate to the IndyCar Series in 2026. But I know some people are wondering what is Jamie Chadwick's future is going to hold, because there was this motorsport.com article about it was out about maybe a month and a half ago. In this exclusive saying that motorsport.com was hearing that Jamie Chadwick could potentially move up to the NTT IndyCar Series as early as 2025. And I know when some people saw that, they were wondering, is this potentially too soon for Jamie Chadwick? They said we don't need to rush her, that getting another year of Indy next would be very, very good for her, because if you rush up a young driver too soon, you could potentially, lead them to failure. But all in all, I think it's really great that Jamie Chadwick got this IndyCar. That's extremely well deserved, and I think she's going to knock this right out of the ballpark, and looking forward to hearing how she does come at the end of September.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Kobe. It's tremendous. Well done, her. And the Road America win was fabulous. And she was in the fight at Detroit the week before for a podium and got kind of scurried out of it late in the race. I think she ended up 5th from memory. I should know. I only watched that race yesterday. But it's just great to see that this has worked, because I think there was a lot of people, 18 months ago or whenever it was that it got announced that she was going across after she dominated W Series in that what is now the F1 Academy. When it was W Series, she was the dominant figure in that, and you feel like, well, was she really, really good compared to the rest of the field, or we need to see her up against some stiffer competition? And last year, through the championship year, there was some spells of speed and stuff, but now she's going back to the tracks that she's got knowledge of, and she's, as you said, smashing it out of the park. And to get that victory at Road America was really, really good. So we'll see. I think I agree with you, Kobe. I think if she goes straight up next year, it's a little bit too soon. If she can come back to Indy next, which I think is probably the most likely option, and she's got the backing of Andretti, and if she does well in the test, they can't find her a seat, then they put her in one of their cars in Indy next year. Then she's got to be considered one of the championship favourites potentially down there next year, with 2 years of experience under her belt, 1 win, maybe more before the end of the season, and then go for IndyCar in 26, when more of the IndyCar silly season this year has been absolutely completely bonkers. So if something opens up for her in Andretti or elsewhere with some more experience and stuff, then we'll see what happens. Kobe, you've got more?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more point on why I think it would be best for Jamie Chadwick to wait until 2026 to move up to the IndyCar Series, because looking at the rides that are available for next year and the extremely competitive driver market, is like, where would she go? I think Jamie Chadwick deserves to be, in a competitive cars, where she has the best opportunity to succeed. And no offense to teams like, say, Hunko's Hollinger Racing or something like that, especially the 78 team, or like the 41 at AJ Foyt Racing, or even, the Del Quinn cars, which have really struggled, quite a bit throughout the season. You wouldn't really want to see Jamie Chadwick go to a struggling team or anything like that, where she's just going to struggle and have a hard time. I think you need to surround Jamie Chadwick with an experienced team that can provide a competitive car and give her the best opportunity to succeed. And I think ideally it would be great for her to stay in the Andretti Global family. But right now they currently have 3 drivers. I think out of their 3 drivers right now, Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, I think they're untouchable. But at 28, Marcus Ericsson, I think Marcus Ericsson, deserves, one more year with Andretti to see if it's going to work. I know this season hasn't exactly gone to plan for Marcus Ericsson, and I know some people have already said maybe he's having some buyer's remorse and maybe should have, accepted a return to Chip Ganassi Racing. But although he did get the deal that he was seeking with Andretti, it just hasn't seemed to click so far. And really, sometimes you need to look at these you need to take a step back and look at these situations. And while this year may not go well for Ericsson, go into 2025, and if it's still not working, then you can potentially move on from Ericsson in that 28 and slide Jamie Chadwick into that car in 2026, when she may be more polished and ready for that move. Because we saw when Andretti had that fourth car, the number 29, that's when the team, took quite a dip in performance. And I think eliminating that fourth car really helped out Andretti. I wouldn't want Andretti, to roll out the fourth car again, for Jamie Chadwick, then Andretti's run into the same problems that they've received. I think Jamie Chadwick just needs to find the right opportunity at IndyCar, and getting in the series with a backmarker team is probably not going to be the best move.
Yeah, I agree. She doesn't want to just take a contract because it's been offered to her from a second half of the field team. And we know the profile is strong for her this side of the pond, as well as now growing, obviously, in America. She stays in the paddock. We know that the Andretti Global Group will get behind her and get some sponsorship for her if it's needed, and that will be a big draw. I don't want to make this comparison, but I'm going to make it. We don't want to see her do what Danica did in the Cup Series and end up in a second half of the field team in a bit of an also-ran kind of way and struggle, and then end up filtering out the back door and never to be seen again, because we know she's a British GT race winner as well in GT4. Now she's an Indy Next winner. She is very, very capable and has got the talent. She just needs to be put in that right place. If it's going to be a Ganassi and Andretti and McLaren, or even even a Team Penske, one of those top tier teams, you just want to see her go in there and have the support and do well.
I agree with you 100%. And from somebody who's commentated on her and seen her race, of course, when we covered W Series, she's absolutely fantastic. She was leagues ahead of everybody else as well. And I think it's a shame we didn't get to see an F1 Academy, a championship, which is it's a little bit more up there, a little bit more. Well, it's very much more professional than what W Series was as well. And I really like seeing her succeed in the touring car paddock. That's one thing, because I'm very close with the touring car paddock at the moment as well. There is a buzz around her when she was there a couple of years ago, and it's a similar buzz that you see now with Abby Pulling in F1 Academy.
That's the next one, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah. So when Jamie was there, and when she turns up every now and then to watch the races as well, there is the sort of the anticipation of everybody knows that she's the next upcoming thing. And when she was in the F4, the British F4, Jamie Chadwick, she was fantastic. I was talking with Richard John Neal, and he said it was always everyone was around Jamie, not over Jamie Carragher, or not Jamie, Jamie. Well, you know the one. Can't remember the name now. Off the top of my head, it was always around Jamie Chadwick rather than. I know you know the one I'm on about as well, don't you?
Exactly who I mean. I can't think of
Jamie Caroline. Jamie Caroline.
That's him.
Yeah, there we go. They were always around Chadwick, not Caroline.
JC.
Yeah, so it's very hard there. So, and it's a similar thing you see now with Abby Pulling as well, that she's the next one to come along. And it's fantastic. So I can't wait to see what she does. And Adam says one more year in Indy NXT for Jamie Chadwick, then she'll be ready for IndyCar as well. If anything, next year, give her a 500 test out. That's what I would do next year. Give her the big one. She's ready for it. And speaking of ready for teams as well, it's been a bit of a not too surprising, but something that we didn't really see was on the cards much, because Spire Motorsports and Corey LaJoie are parting ways at the end of the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. A short while ago, we were discussing Spire's decision to hire crew chief Rodney Childers as well, and wondering if he could bring out the best of Corey LaJoie in 2025. Now, we know those two won't get to work together after all, as the team looks for a new driver to get behind the wheel on the number 7 Chevrolet. But during his time at Spire as well, Corey LaJoie has earned 4 top 5 finishes and 6 top 10s. However, LaJoie currently sits 28th in the points and is underachieving this year as a rookie teammate. Carson Hussavar is outrunning him, leaving some to wonder if another driver could get more out of the equipment. Now, team co-owner Jeff, I'm going to have to rephrase that because my eyes went. Team co-owner Jeff Dickinson as well said that LaJoie has been the team's cornerstone since 2021 and acknowledged how much the driver has put his heart and soul into the organization. Dickinson remembered the times when LaJoie rolled up his sleeve to help the team before they had a race shop, toolbox, or their own cars. However, he admitted that this is a performance-based business and that factor into their decision to move on from Corey LaJoie. With Ryan Sparks slowly focusing on the competition side of things and Childress joining next year, the team felt it was best to give the number 7 team a fresh start for 2025. The photo courtesy there of Spire Motorsports as well. Yes, he's been having a difficult season. I've often thought there's been moments and flashes that we've seen what Corey LaJoie really is all about. There's been a couple of great moves as well, but a couple isn't enough. So is Spire making the right decision to part ways with LaJoie, and will he stay in the Cup Series for next season?
I think it probably is time. And you mentioned Carson Hosvar coming into that team as a rookie straight up from the Truck Series has been he's been impressive at times. So that's been a good move. But Corey, it just has never. There's been, as you said, the last couple of years, there's been moments, and there was that one at Atlanta last spring, I think it was off the top of my head, where he was in the fight there after a late race caution was up front, ended up not coming his way. But other than that, he's not really. I know he's not got he's not got race winning equipment, but you can show signs and top 10s and things like that, and that's just never happened for him. Unfortunately, and he's been at that team for quite some time. He's got a good fan base support, and obviously he's got the podcast as well, which is supported by NASCAR themselves. So you would think that he'd wind up somewhere, but I've got a funny feeling it might not be at the top table in the Cup Series going into next year. And when Childress was announced as going to that team after, of course, SHR's demise at the end of the season, you thought, wow, that's a great get for them to get in with Corey, and they can gel and that can bring Corey on. But now Corey's going to be the one that's leaving the team, and who Rodney ends up working with next season is yet to be seen. So interesting to see where he ends up. But I feel like it probably, for that team who are a growing team and have got aspirations to go further up the pecking order, this is probably the right move at the right time.
It does look like it as well. And Matthew Owens behind the mic, good evening to you, says it was the only move Spire could make. Hussavar and Zane are both qualifying really well and running better than him. Corey needs to go to a top tier NXS ride, something he's never had as well. Yeah, if we can go Xfinity, that I think would be the logical step for maybe a season or two, just to get his groove back in and come back up.
Try and come back up again.
Yeah, I think there's in 2 years' time as well, some of the contracts are up as well, where it really could sort of give them a boost in terms of midfield and maybe even at the front field with a couple of drivers we know that could be nearing the end of retirement. I don't want to say it, but I'm looking mainly at Brad Keselowski. How long could he go on for? But he's having a stellar resurgence of his career. What was it, 2 wins this year after an 18-month gap? So not too bad at all. I think he won Darlington, actually, which was my first race back after a couple of weeks off. It was, yeah. But we've wrapped up all our main talking points for this evening as well. Kobe's going to be around shortly as well for more news. But at the moment, I'm going to hand over to Matt White for the latest for the Grid EPI update.
Thank you, Josh. Amazing we've got an hour out of all of that in an Olympic break, but here we are. Time for this week's Grid Endurance Performance Index update. There was only one race to score in the Grid EPI last weekend, and it was at the Nürburgring. The GT World Challenge Endurance Cup continued, and the win for Lamborghini, Marco Mappelli, Jordan Pepper and Frank Pereira winning the race in the overall, and of course that means in the pro category. The gold race was won by Gilles Magnus, Jim Pla and Paul Everard. Cesar Gazzo, Aurelien Panis, yes, son of Olivier, and Roy Mayhus won in silver. And the bronze cup was won by Dennis Marshall, Loic Hartog and Dustin Blackmer. Let's have a look at the point standings. No changes to the top 10 from last week. So Andre Lotterer continues at the top of the standings. He has a slender lead over someone that is in action this weekend. Dane Cameron there in second position for Penske Porsche. He and his teammate Felipe Nasr hold the lead in the IMSA GTP Championship, and GTP is back this weekend after missing their trip up north to Canada. Road America this weekend for IMSA on Sunday afternoon. Looking forward to that one. Should be a cracker. Always is there. The next round of NLS is this weekend. That is NLS 5. Super GT is back after their summer break. So Kenta Yamashita and Shu Tsube there in 6th and 7th in the points, holding the Super GT Championship lead too. Will hope to bump themselves up in both championships, although of course top of Super GT they can't go much higher, but they'd like to extend their lead. And we've also got GT World Challenge Australia in action with 2 sprint races at Queensland Raceway as part of the Shannon Speed Series weekend down there in Oz. There's the top 50. That is week 18 in the books. 83 races down of the 152 races that score towards the Grid Endurance Performance Index. Mauro Engel still has the top start number for the season. He's on 25 of those 83 scoring races. And Samantha Tan continues to lead as the top female. She is 152nd in the points. We'll give you the results of those races that are coming up this weekend and the latest points update in week 19 of the Grid Endurance Performance Index on Grid Tonight next week. Now time to hand back to Kobe. He's got more news and notes from the week.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. Last week, we reported on Kevin Magnussen departing Haas F1 at the end of the 2024 season. And now we've learned that Esteban Ocon is replacing him in 2025. Ocon will be a part of a new look driver lineup for Haas in 2025 as he'll team up with incoming rookie Ollie Behrman. His first time behind the wheel of an F1 car. Ocon came in 2014 with Lotus, and that car on that day was engineered by no other than current Haas F1 team principal, Ayao Komatsu. In a statement, Komatsu acknowledged the history he shares with Ocon and values the experience he'll bring to Haas next year alongside a rookie driver. Ocon said he's thrilled to join a very ambitious racing team whose spirit, work ethic, and undeniable upward trajectory that really impressed him. Graphic courtesy of Haas. And in the Repco Supercars Championship, Penrite Racing announced they're going to be parting ways with Richie Stanaway at the end of the year. Stanaway joined Penrite at the beginning of 2024 after he won last year's Bathurst 1000 as Shane Van Gisbergen's co-driver at Red Bull Ampol Racing. Stanaway currently sits 13th in the championship, while teammate Matt Payne is in 5th. Payne has outqualified Stanaway 15-1 and outraced him 10-5. The team said Stanaway will stay on as his main game driver for the rest of the season, and they'll announce his replacement at a later date. They have quite a few options to choose from. The photo you see on the screen, courtesy of Supercars. And after discussing Seb Priaulx's abrupt departure from AO Racing on last week's episode of Grid Tonight, the team has already replaced him with Julian Andlauer. They'll team up with full season driver Lauren Heinrich for this weekend's IMSA race at Road America in a number 77 Porsche. Team principal Gunnar Jeanette said the team is excited to add Andlauer to the lineup and noted they've already raced against him in many championships around the globe. Andlauer said he's super excited to be back in IMSA, and while he admits to not knowing Road America yet, he called it an amazing track and hopes it'll suit their Roxy livery Porsche. Photo courtesy of AO Racing. And some Formula E silly season news with Stoffel Van Dorn and Jake Hughes departing DS Penske and Neon McLaren, respectively. Both drivers have landed new homes in Formula E with Maserati, MSG Racing. The team believes their new driver line will give them one of the strongest pairings in the Gen 3 era, combining race-winning experience and determination of what's ahead. Van Dorn and Hughes will debut with Maserati during the preseason test at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Spain in early November. With the two newest signings, I mean the team is going to be moving on from Max Gunther and Jehan Deruvala. Team principal Jose Aznar said they have the foundation in place to have a strong year in season 11 and intends to fight toward the front of the grid. Graphic courtesy of Maserati Racing. And more Formula E news. Lucas Di Grassi will stay with Abt in season 11 as the team transitions to the Abt Lola era. It'll be an important year for Abt, who forms a new partnership with Lola Cars, which will see them use a powertrain developed by Lola with Yamaha. With 47 career podium finishes in Formula E, it was important for Abt to bring back one of the most accomplished drivers in series history. Di Grassi said Abt is like family to him, remembering the best moments of his career while driving for the team, but he has the confidence in this new project moving forward. Photo courtesy of Abt Lola. And our last story for the night, another short track standout is getting the opportunity to show what he can do on the big stage in NASCAR. Connor Hall will make his Craftsman Truck Series debut on Saturday, August 10th at Richmond Raceway. He'll drive the number 91 Chevrolet Silverado for McAnally Hilgeman Racing. Hall is currently the points leader in the Cars Tour Late Model Stock Championship and the Virginia Triple Crown. It was also last year's NASCAR Weekly Series national champion. And on the night before his Truck Series debut, Hall will compete in the Cars Tour race on Friday, August 9th at 8 Speedway. And coming from the grassroots racing community, Hall said every driver like him wants opportunities like this and wants to make the most of it. He also believes that Richmond is the perfect place for him to make his debut because it suits his driving style and the type of racing he does in late models, graphic courtesy of McAnally Hilgeman Racing. Also saw some other short track standouts make their NASCAR National Series debut this season. Of Bubba Pollard at Richmond with Junior Motorsports had a great run in the Xfinity Series race, and we also saw Brendan Butterbean Queen make his Truck Series debut at North Wilkesboro. He also ran extremely well in that race, so it's definitely a good time if you love short track racing. You're seeing some of your Friday night, Saturday night heroes finally make it to the big stage of NASCAR, which is great to see for all racing in general. And with that said, Matt, I'm going to turn over to you for everyone's favorite game. Pick a winner.
Thank you, Kobe. And we've got 3 races to pick for on the show this evening. And we'll start about 45 minutes away from where I'm sat at Silverstone because MotoGP is back after its summer break. Matt B there continues at the top of the top of the points. He's got 6 points over Ben, and happy birthday to Matt for yesterday. Josh T though climbing the ranking, he's up to 3rd, closing in, and Kobe there is 4th ahead of Adam and myself. Josh Birch, where are you, Mr. Birch? On there, 15th on the leaderboard. 3 races to pick from, so if you get all of them right this weekend, you might even be in the top 20 from a standing start. And we'll start at Silverstone, where MotoGP is, as I mentioned, after its summer break, the British Grand Prix at the home of British Motorsport. I mean, it's open, isn't it, this one, but it's probably going to be Ducati. I saw the Cassini trucks on the M25 the other day on their way up there, and I'm going to go for Mark Marquez.
That's a good pick, Matt. I'm going to go with Pecco Bagnaia to win the sprint race at Silverstone. You got Josh.
I'm going to go for Jorge Martin as well. It's his type of circuit, and Silverstone always provides very close racing, and last year's sprint was very interesting, so I think Martin's going to take the sprint. And don't forget, we come back from summer break, it's going to be a very interesting championship as it closes up at the front.
All that's to look forward to. Then, when of course we've got the Grand Prix for you to pick from using the hashtag Pick a Winner on social media. Get your picks in for the sprint race and the Grand Prix on Sunday. Talking of Sunday will conclude WRC Rally Finland, the Grand Prix on gravel this weekend. It's a stacked field. Toyota are bringing out all of their guns, and for that reason, I'm going to pick Sebastian Ogier. Kobe?
Yeah, we're going to make it unanimous there. I think Sebastian Ogier is going to get the job done in Finland.
For someone that was supposed to be running a part-time schedule, he looks like he's going to end up doing all of the rallies from here to the end of the season and probably win the championship. It'll be a turn up for the books. And IMSA, as we mentioned during the EPI update, is on and back this weekend there at Road America. I'm going to go with the EPI second place man, Dane Cameron and Felipe Nasser there, the championship leaders. Porsche are having a really strong summer in IMSA, and I think they'll continue their trend on Sunday. Kobe, who have you got?
I promise I'm not copying you, Matt, but that was also the pick I had in mind earlier this afternoon. I definitely think Dane Cameron and Felipe Nasser are going to get the job done at Road America. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they are the defending race winners at Road America as well. So see if they can try to get another one here and continue to do extremely well in the championship battle.
So those races coming your way at the weekend, and you can, as I said, get your picks in using the hashtag Pick a Winner, or comment below like Adam has. Jorge Martin for MotoGP, he says Ogier for Finland, and he is also going for Penske Porsche with a 6 car at IMSA Road America on Sunday. Use the hashtag Pick a Winner on social media to get your picks in over the weekend, and you too could be on the board with, as I scroll back to get my notes, to tell you that there's about 50 points still available. So there is plenty of opportunity to score. 71 points still available in Pick a Winner from here on out to the end of the season. So it is not done with Matt B's 6-point lead. There is plenty of opportunity for everyone to score, and that includes you if you're not on the board quite yet. Josh is back with me for Hots and Knots, which continues to be brought to us by our good friends. Insert your company name here. Hot's the weather, obviously, in all parts of the Northern Hemisphere. In Kobe's part of the world and ours. sitting here sweating like a
I'm wearing shorts.
At 20 to 12. Yeah, I've got mine on.
I
but
look like a postman.
I'm not going to show my legs on camera, but it's 20 to 12 and I shouldn't be this warm at this time of night. But other than the weather, yeah, I've got the door open, so there's been no bugs, which has been a surprise actually, flying in from outside. Other than the weather, hot, the Belgian Grand Prix.
Yeah,
I thought it was a really, really good race up until the point that the winner got thrown out. But it was a fair cop.
It was a fair cop. You can't be 1.5 kilograms below the weight limit. And as soon as it was announced, it was pretty much unanimous that he was going to go. I was on the wrap-up show with Joe, and I was explaining that it's 1.5 kilogram. It's equivalent to half a second per lap. So it's quite a lot. And we were sort of wondering in commentary, even with the DRS, how was Russell still keeping ahead down the Kemmel Straight? And Hamilton was trying to get past him. So in the closing stages, that would have helped him under braking a lot. And we got asked, and everybody's been asking the question, oh, what about the tyre pickup? Because there's no tyre pickup at Spa. Is that been a reason? That would have only added about 300, 400 grams of kilograms of weight. It would not, grams of weight. It would not have done a lot to lift the car over the 1.5 it needed. And I had that little tyre thing and held it and showed you what it all was. So go back and watch the wrap-up show if you want an explanation on that. But it really was a fantastic race, and I think it sort of built up the entire weekend, didn't it? And Max getting the pole in qualifying, Charles Leclerc staying on the front row. I said just before it went out, it was ironic because for the third year running, Verstappen was on pole but had a grid penalty, with a Ferrari inheriting pole position with Perez alongside in the front row and Hamilton starting in third. So it was the third year running that little trick had happened, 22, 23, 24. And again, we all expected maybe Verstappen could win it. Didn't win it. And it was a Mercedes engine 1, 2, 3 on the line for the first time since Australia 2014. Didn't work out though. So Leclerc gets a podium. Piastri finishes in second, and Hamilton gets 105th win and a Belgian Grand Prix win back after one was taken from him. Yeah. So I think it balanced the universe.
And I'm still baffled by that penalty in 2008, all these years later. I really enjoyed the race. Russell, strange card to play, but it worked out for him brilliantly until of course it didn't. There's no slowing down lap, to use a phrase at Spa. If you didn't watch the Grand Prix at the weekend, they come over the line and come back in the pit exit instead of going round again, because it would take them far too long, and they probably don't want to carry another slow down lap's worth of fuel in the car for that reason. So no tyre pickup. So there was that, but it was just a miscalculation from Mercedes' part. They've held their hands up to it. Lewis was clearly aggrieved afterwards. He was might have 155 that he hadn't won that race. When he was talking to, it was Günther Steiner, wasn't it, that was doing the podium interview. That's not a podium interview anymore. And he was not happy. Well done to Charles Leclerc. I thought that was a tremendous drive, and any one of 4 or 5 people probably could have won that race at any one stage throughout. I just thought it was really good. Another 2 races in a row that have been really good after Hungary, which was obviously drama filled throughout, and then this one, which was not so much drama but still was intriguing.
Chess game.
All the way to the end. Looking forward to them back at Zandvoort, where no one can overtake, and the whole of the grandstands will be orange, and they'll all be doing the dance all weekend, as all the Dutch fans were doing at the Euros not so long ago.
And don't forget, we're going to be rotating now, aren't we? From 2026 onwards, Spa and Zandvoort are rotating. Perhaps. Bad decision.
But then the Zandvoort track manager or someone denied that was a thing after that story had come out by Motorsport Total or whoever it was that ran that story on Monday or Tuesday. They then said, this isn't the story. Where have you pulled this out from? Talking of which, I've got, unless you've got any more hots, I have a not to go straight off the back.
No, there wasn't really much.
There wasn't much else hot. I've got a couple of knots.
hang on.
Speedcafe.com. Oh, go on.
Antonelli.
Oh, I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
The pass in the rain at the bottom of Eau Rouge. Oh, just. I haven't watched the race because it got delayed and etc. And I've still not watched any F2 since Monaco. Was the last F2 race I watched. Yeah, I'm still that far behind. But I saw that clip on Saturday on social media and I was like, oh my goodness me. If you thought Mark Webber's pass on Alonso was good all those years ago, that was in the dry. This was in the rain.
And absolute at the outside.
On the outside, yeah. Proper
was
move.
Perfect. He is going to be a star, honestly.
Yeah.
He's like right up there.
He's going to go into that top echelon of real fast kids that do something very quickly when he gets into a good car. Into my knot then, which I was going to piggyback off a story that's not a story. Speedcafe.com, our friends from Australia ran a story that they're trying to get Shane Van Gisbergen and Scott McLaughlin to do a Trans Am race at Adelaide at the end of the season. Shane Van Gisbergen replied to the said tweet with, first I've heard of it. And that was then replied to by Scott McLaughlin that went, same. Which I think was tremendous. That they both went, what? This is the first I've heard of this. I'm racing at Adelaide.
Now just to spite.
Hello,
no spite.
Yeah, absolutely right. So that was a knot. My other knot comes from Croft, from Touring Cars on Sunday. British Touring Cars back after their Tour de France / summer break. Race 3, Colin Turkington ends up in the wall at the fastest part of the racetrack after being in contact with Tom Ingram because he didn't leave him any room.
Yeah.
I don't really know why Collins feels he's so aggrieved that he was punted on because we didn't get an onboard from Ingram's car, but there was an onboard shot from Turkington's car and he was on the curb and Ingram was on his right hand side, which means he was on the grass and speared the BMW off.
It was a bit of a weird one.
Not such a good thing to be angry about from Turkington's point of view.
Absolutely, and I think the whole weekend was a bit off for driving standards as well.
Crashy,
so it was like first day back at school. So I'm gutted I won't be at Knock Hill. I was going to Knock Hill, and I'm gutted I'm not gonna. Yeah, that is the next one next weekend because they required a 5 million insurance policy because it doesn't count as a British round because it's in Scotland.
$5 million.
Yeah, so that's that. But I'm yeah. So I'm doing Brands Hatch at the end of the year, so I'll be there for that, and I'll check up with Steve Ryder and Richard John Neal for dinner, and I'll get all the gossip. So I'm gutted about that, but. Another thing I want to pick up as a one more hot, because it is very much a hot. Goodbye, Freddie Spencer. You will not be missed. Yeah. Hello, Simon Crafar, who I think is a wonderful replacement as a steward, as the head steward in MotoGP. Now, if you're not familiar with this, MotoGP has a chief rider steward who's responsible for all of the penalties, and that is Freddie Spencer, former racer and winner. World champion, of course, yeah. In World Superbikes and in MotoGP as well. But everybody hates him because he is the most inconsistent and terrible steward we've ever had. And everybody hates him. And they can't wait for him to go. He's now leaving. He's retiring. And Simon Crafar's taking over. And everybody I've spoken to have gone, it's going to be good again. So I'm very happy about that. And also, it looks like this weekend, don't forget, if you're in the UK, MotoGP is free to wear on ITV the entire weekend. So take a watch.
So if you've had enough of Olympic coverage, then make sure you get your goggles on MotoGP because the races at Silverstone always are drama and have been over the last few years, wet or dry. And it doesn't look like it's going to be wet. It's going to be very much dry and the grass is going to be very much brown at Silverstone, unless Stuart Pringler and his team have done a good job watering it over the last few days. I was driving down the M25 on yesterday morning, and suddenly 2 blue lorries went the other way. I was like, Grissini! So that was good to see. Heading north. So that was fun. So looking forward to MotoGP at the weekend. WRC Rally in Finland on the gravel Grand Prix. They've got virtual chicanes. in
What?
Rally Finland this weekend. Instead of having hay bales to go round because they damage the cars and such, like on the really fast stages, because they have to keep an average speed down for some of the really quick stuff. They've got virtual chicanes where you have to come to a slow pace for a certain distance and then go again in a MotoGP style penalty loop kind of deal.
Right.
But everyone's got to do it. So they want to go on the quick stuff, but the cars are too fast, so they have to slow them down, and this is what they've come up with. So we're going to get attack mode, or not, as the case may be, in a Formula E style.
Detract mode.
Stuff for rallying.
What the hell is it? Just
interesting to see how that plays out and how many people are going to get penalties for going through it too quickly.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot. Sorry. Oh, well, does it count for flying? Oh God, I hate when they interfere with things like that. It's like just sport is sport. It's like I was watching the tennis earlier on. For those of you over in America, you I can't remember her name, bless her, but she's America #1, not Serena or Venus, but yes, that's it, Cole. Yeah. She got knocked out, didn't she, because of the lining fracture. And I really felt for her. And the fans booed. I was like, no, she's in the right. And I was, bit bad that and everything.
Oh,
but,
quickly while we're talking Olympics and before we go, overtake of the season, Tom Pidcock. Just brilliant in the cross country.
That was fantastic, actually. I didn't enjoy that. Yeah.
But if you leave the door open and there's a gap, and you're a racing driver, etc., etc. So
Coco Gaff,
well
Kobe said, thank you. Yeah, Coco Gaff, of course. Thank you, Kobe. I was watching it, but I don't know where I'm next on actually for Olympic coverage. I've done a beach volleyball that I was only half joking about, but I've ended up covering one. That was a lot of fun. I think I'm on some velodrome action next or something.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that. Athletics on Saturday. That's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for that. I'm hoping to join in after the games there. Have you got all your hots and nots out?
That's it. I'm done.
Excellent. More of that next week then as well, when we've had the British Grand Prix from MotoGP and the World Rally Championship as well from Finland. And I'm assuming already your knot will be the virtual chicane. So let's just go there.
We'll see how they play out over the weekend.
Might not probably be something to do with Dorna. Dorna for me. Just get it on the list. Okay, so taking a look at our upcoming schedule, nice and easy as well this weekend. Saturday, Grid Live pre-race as well. That's at noon Eastern. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up. That's shortly after the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship race at Road America as well. So please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach 1,000 subscribers. Now we're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications for when we go on the air. You can follow all of our social media platforms and visit the brand new website, gridnetworktv.com. Once again, that's gridnetworktv.com, just at the top there. So you can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Shell, Robin, David, and Matthew, who invest each month in the Grid Network. And we encourage you to join these fine folks who will help us keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start sending our team to the track to cover more races and continue expanding our coverage. The link to all of this is in our video description. And if you want to do a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link. You can get your name on the board and invest as much as you want, and consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air as well. So for Kobe Lambeth and Matt White from Grid Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Good night.